Whether you're carrying a day full of tangled thoughts, feeling heavy with wonder, or simply hoping to drift off to the sound of the unknown, you've found a peaceful harbor. Here, we believe some of the most profound mysteries are best explored in the soft glow of contemplation, where curiosity meets calm. There's no shouting here, no rush, just a gentle, unhurried exploration into the beautifully baffling corners of our universe. Tonight, we're diving into scientific concepts that break the mind. Imagine for a moment the eerie hum of ocean, sounds from miles deep that no one can explain, or particles that seem to tunnel through solid walls, defying logic. What about the tantalizing idea of engines that could push forward without any fuel at all? These aren't science fiction, but real scientific riddles that nudge at the very edges of what we understand. As you settle in, wherever you are, perhaps bathed in the low hum of evening lights, or under the vast, silent canvas of stars, I wonder what time of day or night has found you joining us. If you find a moment of peace here, a quiet spark of wonder, consider gently tapping the like button or subscribing. It's a small gesture that simply helps other quiet minds find their way to our little corner of cosmic unknown. Now, take a soft breath. Let your shoulders fall. Allow your mind to unspool as we begin our steady drift into the wonderfully unexplainable. Welcome to the descent. You wake up. The sunlight, a warm, golden caress, spills across your bedroom floor. You stretch, a delicious unraveling of muscles. The scent of brewing coffee drifts from the kitchen, a promise of the day ahead. You glance at the clock to 7 o'clock, a new day, a new moment. You feel anchored in this now, a tangible, undeniable slice of time, moving relentlessly forward, second by precious second. This present, this immediate, unfolding reality feels utterly real, utterly singular. We all share it, don't we? We exist on the same temporal highway, experiencing the same present as it slides from future into past. This intuitive grasp of time, this shared, singular now, is the bedrock of our existence, a comforting constant in a chaotic world. But what if that now, that solid ground beneath your feet, is nothing more than a magnificent, shared hallucination? What if your perception of a distinct, moving present is an elaborate trick of consciousness, a sophisticated optical illusion woven by the very fabric of the universe itself? The unsettling truth is this: many physicists suggest there is no special, universal now. Time, they posit, is not a river flowing past a stationary observer, but rather a vast, immutable ocean where all moments past, present, and future exist simultaneously, laid out like points on a map. This mind-bending concept is known as the block universe theory. Imagine a film reel. When you watch a movie, you perceive a continuous flow of motion, a sequence of events unfolding in time. But the entire film, from its opening credits to its final fade-out, already exists. Every frame, every scene, every moment is already there. On the reel, you simply perceive one frame after another, creating the illusion of movement and progression. In the block universe, our universe is that completed film reel. Every event that has ever happened, is happening, or ever will happen, is already etched into the cosmic tapestry. Your birth, your first kiss, this very moment, you are reading these words. Your eventual passing, they are all fixed points in this four-dimensional block of space-time, as concrete and unchanging as the coordinates of a star. Think of it like a loaf of bread. You can slice it horizontally, and each slice represents a moment in time. But the entire loaf, all the slices, exist simultaneously. Your now is just one particular slice you happen to be experiencing, and someone else, perhaps moving at a different velocity relative to you, might be experiencing a different slice. Their now could be your past or your future. Einstein's theory of relativity, specifically the concept of space-time, laid the groundwork for this idea. It showed us that time isn't absolute. It's relative to the observer's motion and gravity. Two people moving at different speeds will experience time differently. If your now is absolute, how can this be? It can't. If time is relative, then a universal now becomes a logical impossibility. What does this mean for your sense of self, for your perception of choice, for the very essence of living in the moment? If every moment is already laid out, are you truly making choices, or merely playing out a predetermined script? Does free will become an elaborate dance in a pre-choreographed ballet? The idea that your future self already exists, as real and tangible as your past self, can be profoundly disorienting. It challenges the very notion of becoming, of growth, of striving towards a future that is not yet set. Are your hopes and dreams, your regrets and anxieties, all part of an unchangeable mosaic? Does it strip away the urgency of action, the thrill of the unknown, the bitter sting of regret, if all is already written? Yet, perhaps this unsettling truth isn't a cage, but an incredibly vast canvas. If all moments exist, then perhaps our consciousness is merely a spotlight moving across this magnificent landscape of space-time, illuminating one now after another. You are not trapped in a linear progression. You are a being experiencing a facet of an eternal present. This perspective doesn't diminish your choices, but perhaps reframes them. Each choice you make, each path you take, is not creating a new future, but rather revealing which part of the existing space-time block your consciousness is navigating. It suggests a profound interconnectedness, where every version of yourself, across every moment, is intrinsically linked. So, the next time you feel the passage of time, the relentless march of seconds, pause. Consider that the now you inhabit is a unique, personal experience, a spotlight illuminating one tiny, precious point in an infinitely vast and eternally existing universe. What does it mean to live in a present that is, in essence, all presence at once? How does this understanding shift your focus from chasing a future to deeply experiencing the richness of the eternal, here and now? And if every moment you will ever live already exists, what profound freedom does that grant you to simply be? You close your eyes for a moment, the echo of the block universe theory still vibrating in your thoughts. You open them, and the world rushes back in the vibrant colors of your room, the distinct shape of your coffee mug, the gentle hum of the refrigerator. You reach out, your fingers tracing the smooth ceramic of the mug, feeling its warmth. This, you think, this is real. This is what's truly out there, an objective reality, patiently waiting for your senses to simply record it. We trust our eyes, our ears, our touch. They are our faithful reporters, bringing us the unvarnished truth of the world. Surely, what we see, hear, and feel is precisely what is, an exact mirror of external existence. This conviction that our senses provide a direct window to reality is deeply ingrained, a fundamental assumption that governs our every interaction with the world. But what if that window isn't transparent, but rather a meticulously crafted, stained glass panel, shaped and colored by an unseen artist within your skull? What if your brain isn't merely recording reality, but actively, brilliantly, and often deceptively constructing it, millisecond by millisecond? The unsettling truth is that your perceived reality, the vibrant, detailed, seamless world you inhabit, is largely a sophisticated illusion, a magnificent act of creation by your own brain. It doesn't just receive information, it predicts, interprets, fills in gaps, and discards data, presenting you with a personalized, optimized, and often surprisingly inaccurate version of the truth. This phenomenon is known as perceptual inference, or predictive coding. Imagine you're watching a magician. You see the handkerchief vanish. You swear it's gone. But what you perceive isn't necessarily what is. Your brain, in its efficiency, takes shortcuts. It anticipates, it guesses, it focuses on what it expects to see, often ignoring contradictory information. Your visual system, for example, receives raw light signals from your eyes, but those signals are chaotic, incomplete, and riddled with ambiguities. Your brain doesn't just display these raw pixels. Instead, it uses vast amounts of stored knowledge, past experiences, and contextual clues to build a coherent, stable image. It's like a master detective, not just observing the crime scene, but actively reconstructing the entire event based on fragmented evidence and probabilities. It fills in your blind spot, corrects for lighting changes, and even predicts where a moving object will be before it gets there, all to give you the illusion of a smooth, continuous world. Consider the classic example of optical illusions. You see lines that appear to bend, or colors that shift, even though objectively they are straight or constant. Why? Because your brain, in its attempt to make sense of ambiguous input, applies rules and assumptions that sometimes lead it astray. It's not that your eyes are faulty, it's that your brain's interpretation system is revealing its sophisticated, yet fallible, nature. Or think about phantom limb pain, where an amputee feels excruciating pain in a limb that no longer exists. The pain isn't real in the external sense, but it is acutely real to the person experiencing it, generated entirely by the brain's internal model of the body. Your brain isn't just reacting to stimuli, it's proactively generating a world model and then updating it with sensory input. What does this mean for the notion of objective truth, for shared experiences, for your very sense of self grounded in a consistent reality? If your reality is a personal construct, how much of what you perceive is truly out there, and how much is merely a product of your internal processor? Does it mean that what one person sees or experiences can be fundamentally different from what another sees, even when looking at the same thing? The concept challenges the very foundation of consensus reality. It suggests that every argument, every misunderstanding, every difference in perspective could stem not just from differing opinions, but from genuinely differing constructed realities. Are your memories, then, not pristine recordings, but dynamic, ever-reconstructed narratives, colored by your present emotional state and expectations? Yet, this isn't a call to nihilism, but an invitation to profound wonder. Your brain, this incredibly complex organ, is not a passive receiver, but an active, creative architect. It's a powerhouse, constantly processing, interpreting, and generating your world. This understanding doesn't diminish reality. It amplifies the miracle of consciousness itself. It offers a liberating perspective. If your brain constructs your reality, then you hold an immense, albeit often unconscious, power. You can, to a degree, influence the lens through which you perceive the world. You can become more aware of your own biases, your own assumptions, and begin to question the givens of your perception. So, the next time you look at the sky, feel the warmth of the sun, or hear a familiar melody, pause. Consider that you are not merely observing an external world, but rather experiencing a magnificent, ongoing creation orchestrated by your own mind. What new possibilities emerge when you understand that your reality is, in a profound sense, your own masterpiece? How might this realization empower you to sculpt a more nuanced, more expansive, and perhaps even more empathetic understanding of the world you inhabit and the worlds others inhabit alongside you? You just finished reading about how your brain constructs reality, and the words still hum in your mind. You lean back, a faint smile playing on your lips as you recall a particularly vivid memory, perhaps a childhood birthday party, the taste of cake, the laughter of friends, the specific shade of blue on the wrapping paper. It feels utterly real, doesn't it? A perfect recording, replayed with pristine accuracy, stored away safely for instant retrieval. We often think of our memories as a personal archive, a vast library of experiences, perfectly preserved and accessible, a faithful record of our past. We rely on them to define who we are, to shape our narratives, to provide the continuity of our individual lives. This sense of absolute fidelity in recall of memories as unalterable facts is a cornerstone of our identity. But what if that precious archive isn't a fixed library, but a constantly rewritten storybook? What if each time you recall a memory, you are not simply retrieving it, but actively, subtly, and sometimes dramatically recreating it, making it vulnerable to new interpretations, new information, and even outright fabrication? The unsettling truth is that your memories are not static recordings. They are dynamic, malleable constructs, living narratives that can be altered, embellished, or even entirely invented without your conscious awareness. This phenomenon is known as memory reconsolidation, and the fallibility of eyewitness testimony. Imagine a historical document. We assume it's a fixed record. But what if every time you pulled it out to read, a scribe magically appeared and subtly changed a few words, added a new detail, or omitted an inconvenient fact, all based on your current understanding or mood? That's closer to how your memories work. When you access a memory, it becomes temporarily unstable, like a file pulled from a server and opened for editing. Your brain doesn't just put it back exactly as it was. It can integrate new information, merge it with other memories, or even prune details it deems irrelevant. This process, reconsolidation, is why therapists can work to alter traumatic memories, and why eyewitness accounts, despite their sincerity, are notoriously unreliable. The act of remembering itself changes the memory. Consider how often you might tell a story about an event, and over time, certain details become clearer, more dramatic, or simply different from what originally happened. It's not necessarily an intentional lie. Your brain is simply refining the narrative, making it more coherent, more emotionally resonant, or more aligned with your current self-perception. Think of the famous Mandela effect, where a large group of people share a vivid, but demonstrably false, memory of a specific event or detail. This isn't mass delusion. It's a powerful illustration of how easily shared cultural narratives or collective suggestions can subtly warp individual recollections, seamlessly embedding new facts into personal histories. Your mind isn't just recalling, it's editing, producing, and directing its own internal blockbuster. What does this mean for your sense of self, for your personal history, for the very foundation of identity built upon a coherent past? If your memories are fluid and reconstructible, Can you ever truly trust what you remember? Does it challenge the notion of a fixed personal truth or of an objective timeline of your own life? The realization that even your most cherished memories are susceptible to revision can feel profoundly destabilizing. It raises questions about blame, about justice, about the very nature of personal accountability. If the facts of a past event can shift each time they are recalled, are you simply a collection of ever-evolving stories, rather than a being with an immutable past? Yet, this unsettling truth is also profoundly liberating. If your memories are dynamic, it means you're not entirely trapped by past hurts or limiting beliefs. You have the inherent capacity, albeit often unconsciously, to reframe your past, to integrate new understandings, and to create a more empowering narrative for yourself. This isn't about denying reality, but about recognizing the brain's incredible flexibility and your own agency within that process. It suggests that growth isn't just about moving forward, but about actively reinterpreting and integrating your past experiences into a richer, more nuanced present. Your story isn't finished. It's perpetually being written, so the next time a memory surfaces, vibrant and seemingly flawless, pause. Consider that you are not just a passive observer of your past, but an active participant in its ongoing creation. What freedom does this fluidity offer you to learn from past mistakes without being perpetually defined by them? How can understanding the malleable nature of memory empower you to consciously shape a more resilient, more hopeful personal narrative, understanding that your past is not a prison, but a landscape constantly being redrawn by the hand of your present self? You've absorbed the unsettling idea that your memories are fluid narratives, constantly re-edited by your own brain. Now, as you consider this, you might feel a peculiar sense of detachment from your own mind, as if there's a you inside your head, a distinct entity, observing and orchestrating all these mental processes. This inner you, this conscious self, feels like the central command, the ultimate decision maker, the singular point of awareness that experiences the world, deliberates, and chooses. We often assume that our consciousness is a unified, singular entity, a benevolent dictator of our thoughts and actions, fully in charge and effortlessly coherent. This bedrock belief in a singular, unified self is perhaps the most cherished and deeply felt of all our intuitions. But what if that silent maestro, that singular conductor of your inner orchestra, is itself an elaborate composite, a masterful illusion woven from countless independent players? What if your consciousness isn't a single, unified entity, but an emergent property? A grand narrative spun by a committee of largely unconscious processes, constantly vying for attention and control. The unsettling truth is that yourself, your feeling of singular consciousness, may be a remarkably compelling simplification, a user interface for the incredibly complex and often fragmented workings of your brain. This concept is explored through various neurological phenomena, including split brain syndrome and the study of unconscious processing. Imagine a vast, bustling city. You, the conscious you, are like the mayor, issuing decrees and feeling fully in charge. But beneath the surface, thousands of departments, traffic control, waste management, utility services, financial markets are operating autonomously, making decisions and sending up only the most summarized reports to your office. Most of the city's intricate operations happen without your direct, conscious oversight. Similarly, your brain is a cacophony of specialized modules, each handling specific tasks, processing visual input, regulating emotions, planning movements, retrieving information, constructing language, Most of these processes occur entirely below the threshold of your conscious awareness. Your conscious experience is merely the tip of a colossal iceberg of neural activity. Consider patients with split brain syndrome, individuals who have had the corpus callosum, the bundle of nerve fibers connecting the two hemispheres of the brain, severed, often to treat severe epilepsy. In these individuals, the right and left hemispheres can operate largely independently. If an object is presented to their left visual field, processed by the right hemisphere, and they are asked to identify it verbally, a function largely of the left hemisphere, they cannot. Yet, if asked to pick it up with their left hand controlled by the right hemisphere, they can. Even more startling, if the right hemisphere sees an instruction to laugh, they will laugh. And when asked why they laughed, the left hemisphere, the one that speaks, will confabulate a logical reason. Like, oh, that joke was funny, even though it had no conscious knowledge of the original instruction. This vividly demonstrates that distinct, conscious-like processes can occur in parallel, and that the verbal self often invents explanations for actions initiated by non-verbal, unconscious processes. What does this mean for your sense of agency, for the concept of free will, for the deeply personal feeling of being the author of your own thoughts? If your conscious self is merely an interpreter, a storyteller trying to make sense of decisions and actions initiated by a vast, silent network of unconscious processes, how much true control do you actually possess? Does it imply that your conscious desires and intentions are often post hoc justifications for what your brain has already decided? The idea that you are not a singular, unified commander, but rather a composite entity where different neural modules can operate independently, sometimes even in conflict, can feel profoundly fragmenting. It challenges the very notion of a coherent, autonomous I. Yet, this isn't an existential crisis, but an incredible revelation about the brain's astonishing complexity. Your consciousness, while perhaps not a singular dictator, is a powerful and emergent phenomenon, the grand symphony arising from countless instruments playing in concert. It allows for reflection, for long-term planning, for the integration of vast amounts of information into a coherent narrative. Recognizing the distributed nature of yourself can foster immense compassion for yourself and others. It explains why impulses can sometimes override reason, why self-control is a struggle, and why seemingly irrational behaviors sometimes occur. It acknowledges the incredible burden your brain carries in trying to maintain a consistent you from such diverse inputs. So, the next time you feel a distinct thought or make a deliberate choice, pause. Consider that this conscious experience is the magnificent output of billions of silent calculations, of countless unconscious processes working in harmony, or sometimes in subtle discord. What humility does this understanding inspire, recognizing the vast, unseen machinery beneath your conscious awareness? How might this reframed perspective allow you to approach your own impulses and internal conflicts with greater understanding, knowing that yourself is a constantly evolving, wondrous collaboration? You've explored the illusion of a fixed present, the brain's creative hand in shaping reality, and the fragmented nature of your conscious self. Now, let's turn our gaze outward to the very substance of the world you inhabit. You pick up a pen, a solid, tangible object in your hand. You feel its weight, its smooth surface. This pen, the desk it rests on, the very air you breathe, it all feels so undeniably substantial, so undeniably there. We perceive matter as robust, impenetrable, a collection of hard, irreducible bits that make up everything around us. This fundamental intuition, that the world is built from solid stuff, is the basis of our everyday interaction with the physical universe. But what if that solidity, that undeniable thingness of matter, is the most profound illusion of all? What if, at its most fundamental level, the pen in your hand, the chair you're sitting on, and even your own body are almost entirely empty space, a shimmering dance of energy and probability rather than a collection of solid particles? The unsettling truth is that if you could shrink yourself down to the quantum scale, you would discover that the vast majority of what we call matter is astonishingly void. This concept is central to quantum mechanics and the atomic model. Imagine a grand cathedral. You stand inside, feeling its imposing solidity, the weight of its stone walls. But now, imagine that the entire cathedral is built from incredibly tiny, incredibly fast-moving gnats. And within each gnat, there's a smaller gnat flying around an even smaller gnat. At the heart of each of these gnats is a microscopic nucleus, and around it, at vast distances relative to their size, are electrons, whizzing so fast they create the illusion of a solid cloud, like the blades of a spinning fan appearing as a solid disk. This analogy helps to grasp the atomic structure. Every atom, the building block of all matter, consists of a tiny, dense nucleus containing protons and neutrons surrounded by a cloud of electrons. The electrons are so incredibly small, and the space they occupy around the nucleus is so astronomically vast that an atom is overwhelmingly empty space. To put it into perspective, if the nucleus of an atom were the size of a marble, the nearest electron would be flying around a mile away. All the apparent solidity you perceive comes from the electromagnetic forces between atoms, specifically the repulsion between their electron clouds. It's like trying to push two strong magnets together. They resist, creating the feeling of a barrier, even though there's nothing physically touching. Your hand doesn't pass through the pen because the electron clouds of your hand's atoms repel the electron clouds of the pen's atoms. The solidity is a consequence of these forces, not the density of the particles themselves. What does this mean for your fundamental understanding of the physical world? For your sense of being a body? For the very boundaries between you and not you? If everything is mostly empty space, are you truly touching anything? Are you truly solid? The idea that you are, in essence, a dynamic collection of rapidly oscillating energy fields, mostly void, can be profoundly disembodying. It challenges the common-sense notion of tangible reality, blurring the lines between what is there and what is merely a manifestation of forces. Does it mean that your experience of touch is an elaborate biochemical interpretation of quantum repulsion, rather than direct physical contact? Yet, this isn't a descent into unreality, but an astonishing glimpse into the true nature of existence. This emptiness isn't nothingness. It's a vibrant, buzzing field of potential and interaction. Your body, the world, the stars, they are all breathtakingly intricate patterns of energy and information, dancing within vast expanses of emptiness. This perspective imbues the mundane with a profound sense of wonder. It reveals a universe far more subtle and dynamic than our macroscopic senses can convey. It offers a liberating insight. The perceived barriers between things are not absolute. They are emergent properties of fundamental interactions. So, the next time you feel the concrete ground beneath your feet or grasp an object firmly in your hand, pause. Consider that you are interacting with an incredible, vibrant void, a universe where solidity is an emergent symphony of forces, and where you yourself are a miraculous, swirling pattern of energy and space. What deeper appreciation does this give you for the unseen forces that sculpt our reality? And how might this understanding shift your perception of boundaries, inviting you to see the world not as separate, solid objects, but as an interconnected, pulsating field of pure potential? You've grappled with the emptiness that defines matter, a concept that dissolves the very ground beneath your feet. Now, let's revisit time, but with an even more unsettling twist. You live your life forward, naturally assuming that causes precede effects. You drop a glass, and then it shatters. You study for an exam, and then you pass. This linearity, this one-way street from cause to effect, is not just intuitive. It's the fundamental logic by which we navigate our days, make decisions, and understand consequences. We are firmly convinced that the past influences the present, and the present shapes the future. This unwavering belief in chronological causality is the very scaffolding of our experienced reality. But what if, at the deepest, most mind-bending levels of the universe, that arrow of time occasionally points in reverse? What if the future, in some profound and subtle way, can influence the past, not by literally changing it, but by shaping the probabilities or even the very outcomes of events that have already occurred? The unsettling truth is that certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, particularly the concept of retrocausality and the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment, suggest that effects can, under specific circumstances, precede or at least affect their causes, turning our understanding of time on its head. Imagine you're playing a game of darts. You throw the dart and it lands on the board. Simple, but now imagine a magical dartboard that, after your dart has landed, somehow influences how you threw it in the first place. Not by changing your muscle memory in the past, but by subtly altering the quantum state of the dart's trajectory before it hit, making it more likely to land where it did based on its future outcome. This is a crude analogy for retrocausality. It doesn't mean you can go back and prevent something from happening. Instead, it implies that the choices or observations made in the future can, at the quantum level, influence the history of a particle's state or the path it took to get there. The most famous demonstration of this mind-bending concept is the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment. It's a complex setup involving photons, beam splitters, and detectors. In essence, a photon is sent towards a double-slit apparatus. According to quantum mechanics, if we don't observe which slit it goes through, it behaves like a wave, creating an interference pattern. If we do observe which slit it goes through, it behaves like a particle, and the interference pattern disappears. The delayed choice part is crucial. The decision to observe or erase the which path. Information is made after the photon has already passed through the slits and is supposedly on its way to the detector. Yet, the choice made in the future to observe or not observe retroactively determines whether the photon behaved as a wave or a particle in the past. It's as if the photon knows what will be done with its information later and adjusts its past behavior accordingly. What does this mean for free will, for the integrity of historical events, for the very fabric of cause and effect? If the future can subtly shape the past, does it imply a kind of preordained destiny, where our present actions are not entirely free but are somehow influenced by future outcomes? Does it blur the line between fate and choice in a way that is profoundly uncomfortable? The notion that your present decisions might, in some abstract quantum sense, retroactively influence the path your particles took a moment ago can feel like the universe is playing a trick on your perception of linear time. It challenges the very logic by which we understand reality, where A always causes B, and never the other way around. Yet, This isn't a license for chaotic time travel or a denial of everyday causality. Retrocausality operates at the quantum level, not on the macroscopic scale of our daily lives. You won't drop a glass and have its shattering influence your decision to drop it in the first place. Instead, it offers a breathtaking glimpse into the deeper, more interconnected nature of reality. It suggests that time, as we perceive it, might be an emergent phenomenon, a simplification of a more profound, nonlinear quantum reality. It implies that every moment, past, present, and future, might be more intimately intertwined than we ever dared to imagine. It broadens our definition of influence beyond simple sequential steps, hinting at a universe where information and causality are far more fluid and intertwined. So, the next time you reflect on a past event or anticipate a future one, pause. Consider that the universe's fundamental laws might be far stranger and more beautiful than a simple one-way street. What new possibilities arise when you contemplate a reality where the future might subtly, quantum mechanically, whisper to the past? How might this profound interconnectedness, this cosmic dance across time, deepen your appreciation for the mysterious, interwoven tapestry of existence itself? You've ventured through quantum retrocausality, where the future might gently nudge the past, dissolving the strict linearity we cling to. Now, let's consider a concept that takes the very reality of our vast, three-dimensional universe and folds it into something utterly unexpected. You look around you. Objects have height, width, depth. You can walk forwards, backwards, sideways, up and down. The universe feels undeniably spacious, a grand arena where stars, galaxies, and you exist in three glorious dimensions. We take this spatial reality for granted. It's the fundamental canvas upon which all life unfolds, a boundless expanse of tangible dimensions. But what if this breathtaking, three-dimensional universe, teeming with galaxies and nebulae, with planets and people, is nothing more than an incredibly detailed hologram projected from a distant, two-dimensional surface? What if our seemingly vast and profound reality is, in essence, a cosmic illusion, a grand projection emanating from information encoded on a flat, boundary surface, much like a security tag on a credit card? The unsettling truth is that this mind-bending idea, known as the holographic principle, is a serious contender in theoretical physics, particularly in the realm of black holes and quantum gravity. Imagine a conventional hologram, a flat, two-dimensional plate that, when illuminated correctly, projects a seemingly three-dimensional image into space. You can walk around the projected image, see it from different angles, and it appears to have depth. But the information that creates that depth isn't truly in the image. It's encoded on the flat surface of the plate. Now, scale that up to cosmic proportions. The holographic principle suggests that all the information describing our three-dimensional universe, every particle, every star, every thought you've ever had, could be entirely encoded on a distant, two-dimensional boundary, like the event horizon of a black hole, or even the very edge of the observable universe. Our perceived three-dimensional reality, then, would be a complex projection of that information. This idea originated from the study of black holes. Physicists like Jacob Bekenstein and Stephen Hawking discovered that black holes have a temperature and an entropy proportional to the area of their event horizons, not their volume. This was profoundly counterintuitive. Entropy, a measure of information, usually scales with volume. Later, Leonard Susskind and Gerard T. Hooft formalized the idea. the maximum amount of information that can be contained in a region of space seems to scale with its surface area, not its volume. This led to the radical conclusion that the entire universe might be describable by information residing on a boundary. A bit like how the information of a 3D object can be fully captured by a 2D drawing, our rich, vibrant, voluminous reality could simply be an incredibly higher resolution picture on a cosmic screen. What does this mean for your sense of physical presence, for the vastness of space, for the very idea of travel and exploration? If the depth you experience is merely a projection, are you truly moving through space, or just observing a change in the projected image? Does it mean that the universe, despite its apparent grandeur, is fundamentally flat, its perceived volume, an elaborate trick of the light, or rather, a trick of the information? The thought that your entire existence, every memory, every sensation, is just a point of data on a cosmic data chip can be profoundly disembodying. It blurs the line between what is real and what is an extremely convincing digital rendering. Yet, this isn't a demotion of reality, but an astounding testament to its intricate complexity. If our universe is a hologram, it implies a profound interconnectedness at a level we can barely fathom. It means that what happens here, in our perceived 3D space, is inextricably linked to information on a distant, fundamental 2D surface. This principle offers a potential bridge between quantum mechanics and general relativity, two pillars of modern physics that notoriously refuse to play well together. It suggests a deeper, more elegant structure to reality than we could have ever imagined, hinting that space and time themselves might be emergent properties of more fundamental information. So, the next time you gaze up at the night sky, marveling at the seemingly infinite depths of the cosmos, pause, consider that this boundless expanse, with its countless stars and galaxies, might be an astonishingly vivid projection from a hidden, flatter dimension. What new awe does this imbue in the very concept of existence, knowing that the universe might be an ultimate, grand illusion, a cosmic magic trick? And how might this profound insight reshape your perception of depth and distance, inviting you to see reality not just as what it appears to be, but as a masterpiece of encoded information, beautifully manifested? You've just grappled with the idea that our universe might be a grand hologram, an information projection from a flatter dimension, further blurring the lines of what we perceive as real. Now, let's bring it even closer to home, to the very core of your daily experience, the act of making a choice. You decide what to eat for breakfast, which shirt to wear, whether to turn left or right. Each decision feels distinctly yours, a conscious act of free will, a testament to your autonomy. We celebrate our agency, our capacity to choose, believing firmly that we are the sole architects of our actions and the masters of our own destiny. This deeply held conviction in our free will is perhaps the most fundamental aspect of what it means to be human. But what if that feeling of making a conscious choice, that sense of a deliberate you initiating an action, is merely a post hoc rationalization, an illusion generated by your brain after the decision has already been made on an unconscious level? What if your conscious self is more of a spectator, observing the outcomes of processes it didn't initiate, and then taking credit? The unsettling truth is that mounting evidence from neuroscience and psychology suggests that many of our decisions, even seemingly deliberate ones, are often initiated by our unconscious brain activity before we become consciously aware of having made them. This challenging concept is at the heart of the Libet experiment and subsequent neuroscience research on free will. Imagine a marionette puppet. You, the conscious you, are like the puppet itself, moving and acting. You feel like you're in control, making the movements, but the strings, the true drivers of your actions, are being manipulated by an unseen puppeteer, your unconscious brain. You only become aware of the result of the string pulling, and your brain quickly weaves a story that you initiated the movement. The groundbreaking research by Benjamin Libet in the 1980s famously demonstrated this. Participants were asked to spontaneously flick their wrist whenever they felt the urge, while observing a clock to note the exact moment they decided to act. Simultaneously, their brain activity was monitored. Libet found a readiness potential, a buildup of electrical activity in the brain related to movement, that consistently appeared about 300 to 500 milliseconds before the participant reported their conscious decision to act. In other words, the brain had already begun preparing for the action before the person consciously decided to do it. Subsequent studies, using more advanced techniques, have extended this delay to several seconds, even up to 7 to 10 seconds for more complex decisions. What does this mean for your personal responsibility, for your moral choices, for the very idea of praise and blame? If your conscious self is merely catching up to decisions already made by your unconscious machinery, are you truly free? Does it imply that free will is a deeply convincing trick, a necessary narrative your brain constructs to maintain a sense of coherence and agency? The idea that your conscious intentions might be an illusion can feel profoundly disempowering, stripping away the very foundation of your self-identity as an autonomous agent. It raises uncomfortable questions. If your choices aren't truly yours, in the way you perceive them, where do accountability and personal growth fit in? Yet, this isn't a dismissal of human agency, but a profound revaluation of its nature. While the initial initiation of an action might be unconscious, many neuroscientists argue that we still retain a free won't, the conscious ability to veto or inhibit an action even after the unconscious has initiated it. Moreover, our conscious mind plays a crucial role in setting long-term goals, shaping our values, and reflecting on past actions, all of which undeniably influence the unconscious processes that lead to future decisions. This perspective shifts the locus of free will from a singular, instantaneous command to a more distributed, nuanced interplay between conscious deliberation and unconscious processes shaped by our experiences and learning. It emphasizes the importance of shaping our unconscious through conscious effort over time. So, the next time you feel you've made a spontaneous choice, pause. Consider that the intricate dance between your conscious awareness and your deeper, silent neural networks is far more complex than a simple command-and-execute model. What deeper understanding of your own decision-making process does this offer? And how might this profound insight into the mechanics of choice empower you not by granting absolute control over every impulse, but by encouraging conscious reflection, self-awareness, and the cultivation of an unconscious mind that aligns with your deepest values? You've confronted the unsettling idea that your choices might be initiated by an unseen, unconscious hand, challenging the very notion of personal autonomy. Now, let's push further into the quantum realm, beyond even the retrocausal whispers of the past. You look at two separate objects, perhaps your coffee mug and the book next to it. They exist independently, distinct entities, their properties their own. If you move the mug, the book remains unaffected. We live in a world governed by locality, where objects interact only through direct contact or forces that travel through space. This fundamental principle, that information and influence are localized, is a bedrock of our daily experience and classical physics. But what if, at the most profound depths of reality, separate objects are not truly separate at all? What if they can be inextricably linked in such a way that measuring a property of one instantaneously influences the other, regardless of the vast distances separating them, as if connected by an invisible cosmic tether? The unsettling truth is that this mind-bending phenomenon, known as quantum entanglement, demonstrates a fundamental non-locality in the universe, a spooky action at a distance that defies our everyday intuition and even puzzled Einstein himself. Imagine you have two coins, each in a separate, sealed envelope, and you send one to a friend on the other side of the galaxy. You both know that one coin is heads and one is tails, but you don't know which is which until you open your envelope. In our everyday world, if you open your envelope and find heads, your friend's coin must be tails. But in the quantum realm, before you open your envelope, your coin is in a superposition of both heads and tails simultaneously. And so is your friend's coin. They exist in a state where their properties are linked but undefined. The moment you open your envelope and your coin collapses into heads, your friend's coin, light years away, instantaneously collapses into tails. There's no time delay, no signal traveling between them. It's as if their fates were intertwined from the very beginning, regardless of distance. This instantaneous connection, a violation of classical locality, is what makes quantum entanglement so peculiar and so powerful. Two or more particles become entangled when they interact in such a way that their quantum states are correlated, even when separated. If you measure a property of one entangled particle, like its spin or polarization, you instantly know the corresponding property of its entangled partner, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance because it seemed to imply faster-than-light communication, which would violate his theory of relativity. However, while the correlation is instantaneous, no information can be transmitted faster than light using entanglement alone, preserving the cosmic speed limit. What does this mean for our understanding of individuality? For the boundaries between objects? For the very concept of separation in the universe? If particles can be fundamentally linked across vast distances, does it imply that the universe is far more interconnected and holistic than we previously imagined? Does it blur the lines between this and that, suggesting a deeper unity beneath the apparent diversity? The idea that seemingly distinct elements of reality are entangled, their fates woven together in an invisible dance, can feel profoundly unifying, yet also unsettlingly interconnected. It challenges our intuitive grasp of independent existence. Are we too entangled with the very particles that make up the distant stars, or perhaps with other conscious beings? Yet, this isn't a dissolution of reality, but an exquisite revelation of its profound depth. Quantum entanglement isn't just a theoretical curiosity. It has been experimentally verified countless times and is the basis for emerging technologies, like quantum computing and quantum cryptography. It shows us that the universe, at its most fundamental level, operates on principles far beyond our everyday experience, revealing a tapestry of reality where connections transcend space and time in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. It suggests a universe that is fundamentally relational, where elements derive their meaning not just from their individual properties, but from their intrinsic links to others. So, the next time you perceive an object as separate and distinct, or feel isolated in your own experience, pause. Consider that you might be living within a universe where every particle, every entity, could be intimately linked by unseen, instantaneous quantum threads. What new sense of belonging or profound wonder does this interconnectedness inspire within you? And how might this radical understanding of fundamental unity reshape your perception of your place within the vast, interwoven fabric of existence? You've ventured through the interconnectedness of quantum entanglement, where particles far apart whisper secrets instantaneously, a concept that dissolves our comfortable notions of separation. Now, let's shift our gaze from the incredibly small to the impossibly vast, to the ultimate fate of everything you know and cherish. You perceive the universe as dynamic, alive, filled with creation and destruction, a cosmic dance of stars being born and galaxies colliding. We instinctively believe in progress, in cycles, in a future that, while uncertain, holds the possibility of continued existence, perhaps even evolution and new beginnings. This deep-seated hope for continuity, for something enduring beyond our individual lives, is a powerful motivator. But what if, beneath the vibrant spectacle of cosmic evolution, a chilling, inescapable truth looms, a truth that dictates the entire universe, including every star, every planet, every living thing, and ultimately every particle, is slowly but inexorably heading towards a state of ultimate, irreversible decay and absolute nothingness? What if the grand narrative of the cosmos is not one of eternal cycles or infinite expansion, but a silent, inevitable march towards a featureless, lifeless, and utterly empty void? The unsettling truth is that the laws of thermodynamics, particularly the second law of thermodynamics and the concept of heat death, paint a bleak, if scientifically probable, picture of the universe's ultimate demise. Imagine a grand, cosmic clock, slowly unwinding. Every tick, every movement, represents a tiny expenditure of usable energy, a slight increase in disorder. The second law of thermodynamics states that the total entropy disorder, or unusable energy of an isolated system, can only increase over time. In simpler terms, things naturally tend towards chaos and decay, not order and structure, unless energy is actively put in. Your coffee cools, your house decays, stars burn out. These are all manifestations of increasing entropy. The universe, while not entirely isolated, is a system where energy differences, which power all processes, are slowly but surely being ironed out. Now, scale this up to the entire cosmos. Over unimaginable timescales, billions upon billions of years, stars will exhaust their fuel and die. Black holes will slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation, and the universe will continue to expand, spreading out its remaining energy. Eventually, all matter will decay, all temperature differences will equalize, and all available energy will be uniformly distributed. This ultimate state is known as heat death. The universe will reach a state of maximum entropy, a cold, dark, vast, and utterly uniform expanse where nothing can ever happen again. There will be no stars, no light, no energy gradients, no forces, no particles to interact, no time in any meaningful sense, just a sea of uniform, extremely dilute, ultra-cold radiation, where the very concept of event becomes meaningless. What does this mean for the meaning of life, for the grand sweep of evolution, for the significance of our existence in a universe destined for such a chilling end? If all beauty, all consciousness, all striving will ultimately dissolve into a featureless void, does it render our efforts futile? Does it make every moment of joy, every act of creation, a fleeting flicker against an backdrop of ultimate, inevitable extinction? The idea that all cosmic structures from galaxies to thoughts, are merely temporary fluctuations in a grand, irreversible slide towards eternal nothingness can be profoundly depressing, stripping away any long-term cosmic significance. Yet, this isn't a call to despair, but a profound invitation to cherish the improbable miracle of existence now. The heat death of the universe lies unimaginably far in the future, billions of times longer than the universe has already existed. The fact that we exist at all, in a universe vibrant with energy and complexity, where life can flourish for even a cosmic blink of an eye, is an astounding statistical anomaly. This perspective doesn't negate meaning, it intensifies it. It highlights the preciousness of every moment, every connection, every act of creation. It shifts our focus from an illusory eternal future to the profound reality of the present, encouraging us to find purpose and beauty in the fleeting, temporary miracle of being. So, the next time you gaze at the vibrant, living world around you, or ponder the vastness of the cosmos, pause. Consider that this grand, complex spectacle is a temporary, magnificent defiance of the inexorable march towards disorder. What profound gratitude does this inspire for the sheer improbability of your own existence, here and now? And how might this understanding of the universe's ultimate fate empower you to imbue every present moment with deeper meaning, knowing that the greatest significance lies not in an eternal outcome, but in the vibrant, fleeting dance of life itself? You've confronted the chilling prospect of the universe's ultimate heat death, a stark reminder of our cosmic impermanence. Now, let's pivot from the macro to the micro, back into the perplexing heart of quantum reality, but with an even more unsettling implication for your role within it. You assume that the moon is there, solid and real, even when no one is looking at it. The chair across the room exists, whether you're perceiving it or not. We believe in an objective reality, one that persists independently of our observation, a stable backdrop against which all events unfold. This conviction that things exist even when unobserved is a fundamental pillar of our common sense view of the world. But what if the very act of observation, of conscious measurement, plays a crucial active role in bringing reality into existence? At the quantum level, what if the universe, in its most fundamental form, exists in a state of fuzzy potential, a cloud of possibilities, only solidifying into definite things when a conscious observer interacts with it? The unsettling truth is that this concept, often summarized as measurement problem or observer effect in quantum mechanics, suggests that reality might not be fully formed or determinate until it is observed, prompting questions about the nature of consciousness itself. Imagine a stack of unplayed musical scores. Before a musician reads and performs them, they are just ink on paper, a potential for music. The music itself, the specific notes and rhythms, doesn't truly exist in a concrete, audible form until the act of performance brings it into being. In the quantum world, particles exist in a state of superposition, meaning they can simultaneously be in multiple states at once. A particle can be spinning both clockwise and counterclockwise, or be in two places at once. It's not that we don't know which state it's in, it literally is in all those states simultaneously. This superposition is described by a mathematical entity called the wave function. The moment a measurement or observation is made, however, the wave function is said to collapse, and the particle chooses one of its many possible states, becoming a definite thing with a definite property. This collapse is instantaneous and seemingly inexplicable within the quantum framework. The famous Schwittner's cat thought experiment vividly illustrates this. A cat in a sealed box, whose fate, alive or dead, is tied to a quantum event. Until the box is opened and observed, the cat is considered to be both alive and dead simultaneously. It is the act of observation that forces the reality of the cat into one definite state. This isn't just about perceiving something, it's about the act of measurement, actively determining an outcome that was previously indeterminate. What does this mean for the role of consciousness? For the objectivity of reality? For the very idea that a universe existed before sentient life emerged to observe it? If reality is fundamentally indeterminate until observed, does consciousness somehow play a role in shaping the physical world? Does it imply a participatory universe, where our minds are not merely passive receptors, but active co-creators of the reality we experience? The thought that the moon might not truly be there in a definite state until someone looks at it, or that quantum reality exists in a state of fluid potential until our gaze solidifies it, can be profoundly unsettling, blurring the lines between mind and matter. It challenges the very notion of a completely independent, external reality. Yet, this isn't a license for solipsism or a claim that reality is solely a product of individual thought. Different interpretations of quantum mechanics exist, and not all physicists agree on the specific role of consciousness. Some propose many worlds interpretations where all possibilities become real in branching universes, removing the need for collapse. However, the observer effect undeniably points to a profound link between observation and reality at the most fundamental level. This challenges us to consider consciousness not as an epiphenomenon, but as something intrinsically woven into the fabric of the universe. Perhaps even a fundamental component required for reality to manifest its definite properties. It imbues observation with a profound, almost sacred significance. So, the next time you glance at an object, or simply become aware of your surroundings, pause, consider that your very act of perception might be playing a subtle yet crucial role in solidifying the fluid probabilities of the quantum world into the concrete reality you experience. What deep responsibility does this place on your awareness, knowing that your gaze might, in some profound sense, be a silent co-creator of the universe? And how might this radical insight into the power of observation deepen your connection to reality, inviting you to see your consciousness not as separate from the world, but as an integral, active participant in its unfolding? You've just wrestled with the notion that your very act of observation might solidify a probabilistic quantum reality, granting consciousness an unsettlingly active role in the universe. Now, let's expand our horizon beyond our own familiar cosmos. You look up at the night sky, a vast canvas of stars and galaxies, and instinctively assume this is the universe, the entirety of existence. We are accustomed to thinking of our universe as singular, unique, the one grand arena where everything happens. This belief in a lone cosmos, the totality of all that is, feels fundamentally intuitive, a singular stage for the cosmic drama. But what if our universe is just one bubble in an infinitely frothing cosmic ocean? One snowflake in an endless blizzard of other universes, each with its own laws of physics, its own histories, its own versions of you. What if every quantum possibility, every choice you've ever considered but not taken, actually exists in a separate, parallel reality? The unsettling truth is that the multiverse theory, in its various forms, posits that our universe is merely one of an unfathomable number of coexisting universes, challenging our singular view of reality in a profoundly mind-bending way. Imagine a colossal, ever-branching tree. Each time you make a decision to turn left or right, to speak or stay silent, to drink coffee or tea, the universe splits. One branch continues with your chosen action, and a parallel branch instantly springs into existence where you made the opposite choice. In this many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every single quantum event, every single measurement that causes a wave function to collapse, doesn't actually collapse into one outcome. Instead, all possible outcomes actually occur in separate, distinct, and equally real universes. If a particle has a 50% chance of being spin up or spin down, both outcomes happen, each in its own universe. This means an infinite number of yous are constantly branching off, living out every conceivable permutation of your life. Beyond the quantum realm, other forms of the multiverse exist. The inflationary multiverse suggests that eternal cosmic inflation, a rapid expansion of space in the early universe, continues in patches, spitting out new bubble universes indefinitely. Each bubble could have different physical constants, different dimensions, even different forms of matter. Then there's the brain multiverse, where our universe is just one brain, a high-dimensional membrane floating in a higher dimensional space, and other brains, other universes could exist parallel to ours, perhaps even colliding and interacting in ways we can't perceive. And finally, the mathematical multiverse posits that every mathematically consistent structure corresponds to a real universe. If a universe can be described by mathematics, it exists. What does this mean for individuality, for the uniqueness of your life, for the very concept of destiny or regret? If every possible version of you exists, living out every single alternative choice, are you truly unique? Does it diminish the significance of your choices if every unchosen path is also being walked by another you in a parallel reality? The idea that countless versions of your life are simultaneously unfolding, that every what if is actually a what is in another universe, can be profoundly disorienting. It challenges the notion of a single, coherent narrative for your existence, and can lead to a sense of cosmic insignificance or, conversely, an overwhelming sense of infinite possibilities. Yet, this isn't a descent into cosmic irrelevance, but an astonishing expansion of reality. The multiverse, while speculative in its grandest forms, offers elegant solutions to some of physics' greatest puzzles, such as why our universe seems so perfectly fine-tuned for life. If there are countless universes with varying physical laws, it's not surprising that at least one ours would have the precise conditions necessary for stars, planets, and consciousness to arise. This perspective doesn't dilute meaning, it multiplies it. It suggests an almost unfathomable richness to existence, where every potentiality is realized somewhere, somehow. It encourages us to think beyond the confines of our singular experience, opening the door to an infinite tapestry of realities. So, the next time you face a crossroads, a moment of choice, or simply ponder the vastness of our own universe, pause, consider that your reality might be just one thread in an unimaginably vast, interconnected tapestry of coexisting universes, each one a unique unfolding of potential. What profound sense of awe does this generate for the boundless creativity of existence itself? And how might this radical insight into the infinite layers of reality deepen your appreciation for the unique, precious path you are walking, knowing that out of infinite possibilities, this particular reality is the one you are experiencing right here, right now? You've just peered into the dizzying implications of the multiverse, where every choice, every possibility might be actualized in a parallel reality, dissolving the very notion of a singular path. Now, let's bring it back to a concept that has quietly haunted philosophy and science for centuries: the nature of causation and its implications for human agency. You wake up each morning, make decisions, and feel that you are charting your own course, freely choosing your actions. You believe in cause and effect, where your choices are the causes that lead to your future effects. This deeply ingrained conviction in your ability to choose, to be the ultimate originator of your actions, is foundational to your sense of moral responsibility, personal achievement, and identity. But what if every single event in the universe, including every thought, feeling, and decision you've ever made or ever will make, is the inevitable consequence of prior causes unfolding in a vast, unbroken chain of physical reactions? What if the universe is a gigantic, intricate, clockwork mechanism where every gear turn, every spring release, is predetermined by the state of the system that came before it? The unsettling truth is that determinism, the philosophical position that all events, including human actions, are ultimately determined by causes external to the will, suggests that your feeling of free will is a powerful and persistent illusion. Imagine a highly sophisticated billiard table. Once the cue ball strikes the first ball, and its initial velocity and angle are set, the subsequent collisions and movements of all other balls are entirely predictable, governed by the laws of physics. There's no choice involved. The outcome is fixed by the initial conditions. In a deterministic universe, every particle, every atom, every neuron in your brain is like one of those billiard balls, its current state and future trajectory entirely determined by the forces and interactions acting upon it. From the Big Bang onwards, the universe has been simply unfolding according to its initial conditions and the immutable laws of physics. Your brain, being a physical system, is subject to these same laws. Its chemical reactions, electrical impulses, and neural firings are all just links in this unbroken chain of cause and effect. Think about it: your genes, your upbringing, your environment, every experience you've ever had, every piece of information you've ever absorbed, these are all prior causes that have shaped the current state of your brain. When you decide to pick up that cup of coffee, from a purely physical perspective, that decision might be seen as the inevitable output of your brain's current state, which itself was determined by a cascade of events stretching back to the dawn of time. If you could rewind the universe to the exact same moment and restart it, a truly deterministic universe would unfold in precisely the same way, with you making the exact same choices every single time. There is no randomness or true choice beyond the mechanical unfolding of prior causes. What does this mean for blame and praise, for justice and punishment, for the very idea of striving for personal improvement or holding regrets? If your choices are not truly free, can you be genuinely held morally responsible? Does it strip away the meaning from effort, from ambition, from the desire to change your life for the better, if the outcome is already sealed? The realization that your every action, your every thought, might be a mere link in an unbreakable chain of causality can feel profoundly disempowering, reducing you to a complex automaton rather than an autonomous agent. Yet, this isn't necessarily a nihilistic end, but an invitation to a different kind of understanding. Many philosophers argue for compatibilism, suggesting that free will can exist even in a deterministic universe. They redefine free will not as the ability to choose outside the causal chain, but as the ability to act according to one's desires and intentions without external coercion. Even if your desires are determined, acting on them feels like freedom. Moreover, even if determinism is true, The sheer complexity of the universe and the human brain means that predicting outcomes is practically impossible. Your subjective experience of making choices remains incredibly powerful and guides your actions in a meaningful way, regardless of the underlying causal mechanisms. It encourages a deeper appreciation for the intricate dance of causes and effects that shapes not just the universe, but the unique individual you are. So, the next time you face a choice, big or small, and feel the weight of your decision, pause. Consider that you are a magnificent, complex culmination of countless prior events, and your choice is a wondrous manifestation of those interwoven threads. What profound humility does this inspire, recognizing your place within the grand, deterministic ballet of the cosmos? And how might this radical insight into the nature of causality invite you to view your actions not as independent acts of isolated will, but as beautiful, intricate expressions of the universe itself unfolding through you? You've wrestled with determinism, pondering whether your choices are truly your own or merely predetermined outcomes in a vast causal chain. A thought that shifts the very ground of personal responsibility. Now, let's bring it closer to your immediate sensory experience, to the very fabric of how you perceive the world around you. You look at a ripe, red apple, hear the distinct chirping of a bird, and feel the cool smoothness of a glass. These qualities, red, chirping, cool, seem inherently in the apple, the bird, and the glass. We instinctively believe that colors, sounds, and textures are objective properties of the external world, directly received by our senses and faithfully reported to our conscious minds. This intuitive grasp of sensory reality that we are experiencing, the world as it truly is fundamental to our everyday navigation and understanding. But what if the vibrant spectrum of colors you see, the rich tapestry of sounds you hear, and the myriad sensations you feel are not intrinsic properties of the external world at all, but rather magnificent, complex interpretations created entirely within the confines of your skull? What if what you perceive as red has no objective redness outside your brain, and sound is merely your brain's interpretation of air pressure waves? The unsettling truth is that our sensory experiences, known as qualia, are not direct recordings of reality, but sophisticated, internal constructions, rendering the objective world devoid of the very qualities we perceive it to possess. Imagine you're listening to a symphony. You hear the soaring violins, the booming timpani, the mellow clarinet, but what's actually happening in the orchestra hall is not sound in the way your brain experiences it. It's air molecules vibrating. Those vibrations travel to your ear, convert to electrical signals, and then your brain interprets those signals as the glorious, complex tapestry of a symphony. The sound isn't in the airwaves. It's a profound, internal creation. Similarly, when you see a red apple, the apple isn't intrinsically red. It's reflecting certain wavelengths of light. Those wavelengths hit your retina, are converted into electrical impulses, and your brain interprets those specific impulses as the sensation of red. A bat, using echolocation, perceives the apple not as a visual object, but as a complex sound map of echoes. A bee sees ultraviolet light, perceiving the world in a way utterly alien to your experience of color. Think of a computer screen. The images you see are made of pixels, each glowing with specific combinations of red, green, and blue light. But the underlying reality is just electrical signals. The beautiful, detailed images you perceive are the computer's output, an interpretation of those signals. Your brain operates in a similar fashion. It takes raw, undifferentiated energy inputs, light waves, pressure waves, chemical compounds, and transforms them into the rich, subjective, and meaningful sensory experiences that constitute your reality. The redness of the apple, the sweetness of sugar, the warmth of the sun, these are all phenomenal properties, qualia, created by your brain. They don't exist in the external object itself. What does this mean for the objectivity of knowledge, for shared understanding, for the very idea of describing reality as it is? If your colors, sounds, and sensations are purely internal constructions, can you ever truly know if another person experiences red in the exact same way you do? Does it imply that each of us lives within a subtly, or perhaps dramatically, different sensory universe, even when looking at the same thing? The realization that the vibrant, textured, sonorous world you inhabit is a highly personalized, brain-generated interface can be profoundly alienating, making the objective world seem strangely sterile and abstract. It challenges the very foundation of consensus sensory experience. Yet, this isn't a diminishment of reality, but an astounding testament to the brain's incredible power and creativity. Far from being passive receivers, our brains are master artists, taking the raw data of the universe and painting a rich, immersive, and highly functional world for us to navigate. This understanding doesn't make colors less beautiful or music less profound. It makes them more miraculous, knowing that they are unique expressions of our internal processing. It encourages empathy, recognizing that others might genuinely perceive the world differently, not just interpret it. It also highlights the elegance of evolution, which sculpted brains capable of transforming objective physics into subjective, meaningful experience. So, the next time you marvel at a sunset, listen to a favorite song, or enjoy the taste of a delicious meal, pause. Consider that these profound experiences are not out there in the objective world, but are vibrant, exquisite creations within the sanctuary of your own mind. What deeper appreciation does this give you for the extraordinary internal world you carry? And how might this radical insight into the subjective nature of sensation invite you to cherish the unique, personal tapestry of your own perception, knowing that your experience of reality is a masterpiece crafted by your own brain? Here is the 15th part of the narrative series, The Unseen Mirror. Yourself is an echo of your relationships. You've explored how your brain fabricates the vibrant tapestry of your sensory world, revealing that red and sound are not out there, but exquisitely designed by your internal machinery. Now, let's turn inward to the very heart of your identity, the you that experiences all these truths. You feel like a distinct, coherent individual, a singular entity with unique thoughts, feelings, and memories, separate from everyone else. Your sense of self is a private inner sanctum, a unique consciousness that observes and interacts with the world. We firmly believe in our individuality, our autonomy, and the clear boundaries that define where I ends and you begin. This intuition of a discrete, independent self is perhaps the most deeply felt and defended aspect of human experience. But what if that deeply personal, private self is not as singular and independent as it feels? What if your identity, your very consciousness, is not something that arises in isolation, but is profoundly, inextricably shaped and even constituted by your interactions and relationships with others? What if the you that exists is not a solitary island, but a dynamic, relational entity, an echo chamber reflecting the myriad connections you share with other minds? The unsettling truth is that many psychological and sociological theories, as well as some philosophical perspectives on consciousness, suggest that our self-identity is fundamentally socially constructed and inherently relational, making your self less a fixed point, and more a fluid intersection of connections. Imagine a single note played on a violin. It has a distinct sound, a specific pitch, but imagine that note only gains its full meaning, its emotional resonance, when it's played within the context of an orchestra, interacting with harmonies and counterpoints from other instruments. Yourself is like that single note. While you feel distinct, your meaning, your definition, your very internal monologue are constantly being shaped by the orchestra of your human relationships. From the moment you are born, your identity is not prepackaged. It is developed through feedback, mirroring, and interaction with caregivers, peers, and society. You learn who you are by how others respond to you, by the roles you play in various social contexts. Don't think of how your personality subtly shifts depending on who you are with. You might be one way with your family, another with your colleagues, and yet another with close friends. Is one of these the real you, and the others masks? Or are all of them authentic facets of a self that is inherently fluid and responsive to its relational environment? Psychologists talk about the looking glass self, where our self-concept is formed by how we imagine others perceive us. Our internal sense of who we are is, in large part, an internalization of external perspectives. Even your internal voice, the monologue that defines your thoughts, often sounds like a conversation, reflecting absorbed dialogues and imagined audiences. Yourself is not just influenced by relationships. It is, in many ways, composed of them. What does this mean for individuality, for authenticity, for the pursuit of a true self apart from external influence? If yourself is largely a social construct, how much of your personality is truly yours, and how much is a reflection of societal norms, family expectations, or the roles you've adopted? Does it imply that profound isolation could, over time, lead to a dissolution of identity, or at least a significant alteration of it? The idea that your unique inner world is constantly being shaped by external connections can be profoundly liberating in its interconnectedness, but also unsettling in its challenge to absolute autonomy. It suggests that yourself is not a fixed, independent entity, but a dynamic, permeable membrane. Yet, this isn't a surrender of individuality, but an invitation to a richer, more profound understanding of what it means to be human. Recognizing the relational nature of the self highlights the immense importance of connection, empathy, and community. It suggests that our deepest growth often occurs in dialogue with others, through the mirroring and challenging that relationships provide. It allows for a more fluid, evolving sense of self, one that is capable of adaptation and continuous recreation through new experiences and new connections. Yourself is not less real because it is relational. It is profoundly, beautifully complex precisely because of it. So, the next time you reflect on who you are or interact with another person, pause. Consider that the very essence of your identity, your conscious self, is not a solitary beacon but a shimmering constellation, intricately linked and defined by the relationships you share. What deep appreciation does this foster for the interconnected web of humanity that shapes us all? And how might this radical insight into the relational self invite you to engage more deeply, more authentically, and with greater compassion in your connections, knowing that in shaping others, you are also profoundly shaping yourself? You've explored the intricate tapestry of body memory, understanding that your physical self holds silent narratives that transcend conscious recall. Now, let's zoom out again, but this time to a concept that challenges the very nature of existence itself. The idea that our universe is not just like a computer, but is one. You experience the world as a physical place, governed by natural laws, filled with matter and energy. Your life unfolds in tangible events. We intuitively believe that reality is fundamentally analog, continuous, and built from physical stuff, not from bits of information or lines of code. This deeply ingrained belief in a material, non-digital universe is the bedrock of our scientific and philosophical inquiry. But what if the entire cosmos, from the smallest subatomic particle to the grandest galaxy, from the flow of time to the emergence of consciousness itself, is ultimately nothing more than an immensely complex computation, an unfolding algorithm being run on a colossal cosmic processor? What if what you perceive as physical laws are merely the rules of this cosmic program, and what you call matter is simply information being processed? The unsettling truth is that the digital physics hypothesis, or computational universe theory, suggests that reality at its most fundamental level is discrete, informational, and computationally driven, making our universe a giant, self-simulating computer. Imagine a game world, a highly detailed virtual reality. To the characters within that game, their world feels utterly real, governed by consistent physics, populated by other beings, and filled with meaningful events. But to the programmer outside the game, it's all just code, algorithms, and data. Similarly, proponents of digital physics suggest that the universe operates on a fundamental level, like a giant cellular automaton, a grid of simple cells that update their states based on predefined rules. Every interaction, every force, every particle could be an emergent phenomenon of this underlying digital process. What we perceive as continuous physics might simply be the macroscopic smoothing of countless, discrete, microscopic calculations. Much like a fluid appears continuous, but is made of discrete molecules, don't think about how quantum mechanics itself suggests discreteness. Particles have quantized energy levels. Space and time might be granular at the Planck scale. This pixelated view of reality aligns surprisingly well with a computational model. Information, not matter, becomes the most fundamental ingredient of the universe. The laws of physics, then, are the software, and the physical universe is the hardware executing that software. Even consciousness, in this view, could be an incredibly complex, emergent property of information processing. A highly sophisticated algorithm running on the cosmic computer. Your thoughts, your dreams, your very perception of reality would be the output of an unfathomably vast and intricate program. What does this mean for the nature of existence, for the distinction between real and simulated, for the very idea of a creator? If our universe is a computation, does it imply a programmer, an entity outside our simulated reality? Does it diminish the significance of life if we are merely lines of code executing a program? The idea that your entire existence, your deepest emotions, your entire history is just a series of binary operations can be profoundly disembodying and raises existential questions about the authenticity of our experience. It challenges the very concept of inherent meaning if all is merely an algorithmic unfolding. Yet, this isn't a reduction of reality to meaninglessness, but a profound expansion of our understanding of what physical can entail. If the universe is a computation, it is one of astonishing complexity and elegance, far beyond human comprehension. It implies that information is truly fundamental, and that the universe might be inherently organized and logical in a way we are only beginning to grasp. This perspective doesn't negate our experiences. It imbues them with a different kind of awe, marveling at the sheer computational power required to generate such a rich, self-aware reality. It shifts our focus from merely observing reality to understanding its underlying source code. So, the next time you perceive a stable object, witness a natural phenomenon, or ponder the mysteries of consciousness, pause. Consider that you might be living within a cosmic algorithm, a breathtakingly vast and intricate computation that generates every aspect of your experienced reality. What new sense of wonder does this inspire for the sheer ingenuity of existence itself? And how might this radical insight into the universe as a grand calculation invite you to look for the underlying patterns, the elegant code that orchestrates the magnificent and unsettling truth of your unfolding reality? You've contemplated the universe as a cosmic computation, a grand algorithm unfolding, which can feel both awe-inspiring and strangely abstract. Now, let's consider a concept that takes our perception of scale and self-similarity and bends it into an infinite loop. You look at a tree, then a branch, then a twig, then a leaf. Each part is smaller but distinct. You understand that things have a definite size, a beginning and an end to their structure. We intuitively believe in clear distinctions between scales, the micro and the macro, and that structures simplify or change fundamentally as we zoom in or out. This linear, distinct understanding of scale is foundational to how we categorize and comprehend the physical world. But what if the universe is structured in such a way that patterns repeat themselves endlessly, at every conceivable scale, mirroring vast cosmic structures in the tiniest atomic arrangements, and echoing individual consciousness in the grand overarching cosmic mind? What if zooming in or out reveals not new, distinct forms, but merely scaled versions of what you've already seen, implying an infinite depth where the same fundamental motifs repeat into eternity? The unsettling truth is that the concept of fractal geometry and self-similarity in nature suggests that our universe might be organized like an infinitely detailed, repeating pattern, a grand fractal dream within a dream. Imagine a snowflake. Each arm of the snowflake is a smaller version of the entire snowflake, and within each arm, smaller iterations of the same pattern repeat. Now, imagine a universe like that. Every galaxy cluster might resemble a neuron in a vast cosmic brain, which itself is part of an even larger cosmic entity. And conversely, within every atom, or even within every human brain, there might be structures that mirror the very large-scale architecture of the universe, suggesting a profound and unsettling interconnectedness between all scales of existence. This is the essence of a fractal universe, a universe where patterns are self-similar across different scales, meaning they look roughly the same whether you zoom in or zoom out. Think of the branching patterns of rivers, the intricate structure of a coastline, the delicate arrangement of a fern leaf, or the complex networks within your own lungs or circulatory system. These are all natural examples of fractal patterns. While not perfectly self-similar, they demonstrate repeating motifs at various scales. Now, extrapolate this. What if the very distribution of galaxies in the cosmos, or the clustering of matter in the universe, exhibits fractal properties? Some cosmological models even suggest that the universe's structure, from quantum foam to galactic soup, might approximate a fractal. If this is true, then the boundaries between scales, between the very small and the very large, become permeable, and the universe becomes an endless reflection of itself, a series of nesting dolls of complexity. What does this mean for individuality, for uniqueness, for the idea of a singular, distinct existence? If your patterns, your very structure, are merely scaled repetitions of cosmic forms, are you truly unique? or just another iteration in an infinite sequence? Does it imply that your inner world, your thoughts and emotions, might also be part of a larger, repeating consciousness, an echoing fractal of awareness? The notion that the universe might be an infinite recursion, where you are a pattern repeating within a larger pattern, which is part of an even larger pattern, can be profoundly disorienting. It challenges the concept of discrete entities, blurring the lines between the microcosm and the macrocosm. Yet this isn't a reduction of meaning, but an astonishing revelation of the universe's elegant complexity and interconnectedness. If reality is a fractal, it speaks to a fundamental unity, a deep, underlying mathematical beauty that permeates all levels of existence. It suggests that profound insights gained at one scale might be applicable, in some form, at another. This perspective doesn't diminish your uniqueness, but places it within an unimaginably vast and beautiful cosmic symphony of repeating motifs. It invites a sense of belonging to an infinitely intricate design, where your very existence is a testament to the universe's boundless capacity for self-replication and emergent complexity. So, the next time you gaze at a tree, observe the branching patterns in nature, or simply reflect on the structure of your own thoughts, pause. Consider that you might be living within a grand, fractal dream, where patterns echo endlessly from the infinitesimally small to the unimaginably vast. What profound sense of unity and intricate design does this inspire within you? And how might this radical insight into the self-similar nature of reality invite you to see yourself not as separate, but as an integral, beautiful iteration within the boundless, repeating tapestry of the cosmos? You've ventured into the mesmerizing, repeating patterns of a fractal universe, where scales mirror each other endlessly, challenging your sense of individual uniqueness. Now, let's bring it to one of the most profound and often overwhelming aspects of human connection: empathy. You witness someone else's suffering, a friend grieving a loss, a stranger experiencing distress, and you feel a pang in your own chest. You feel their sadness, their fear, their joy, as if it were, in part, your own. We attribute this to emotional intelligence, a capacity to understand and respond to another's feelings. We see empathy as a noble, conscious act, a bridge we deliberately build to connect with others' experiences. But what if empathy isn't merely a cognitive understanding or a conscious choice, but a deeper, more primal resonance, a direct, almost physiological mirroring of another's internal state that bypasses pure thought? What if the pain you feel when witnessing another's sorrow is, in a very real sense, your brain actually experiencing some echo of their pain, as if their nervous system is temporarily overlaid upon your own? The unsettling truth is that the discovery of mirror neurons and advances in effective neuroscience suggest that empathy is rooted in a fundamental, automatic simulation of others' actions and emotions within our own brains and bodies, blurring the lines between self and other in a profoundly visceral way. Imagine you're watching someone get hurt. Perhaps they accidentally hit their thumb with a hammer. You wince. You might even feel a phantom ache in your own thumb. This isn't just a mental inference. It's your brain's mirror neuron system activating as if you were performing or experiencing the action yourself. These specialized neurons fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action, but it goes deeper than just actions. Research suggests similar mirroring mechanisms for emotions. When you see someone smile genuinely, the regions of your brain associated with experiencing happiness light up. When you see someone in pain, areas like the anterior insula and cingulate cortex, linked to your own experience of pain, become active. Your brain isn't just processing information about their emotion. It's running a simulation, generating the internal feeling of that emotion within you. Think about the contagious nature of yawning or laughter. It's almost impossible to resist. This isn't a conscious decision, it's an automatic, mirroring response. Similarly, when you are in the presence of someone deeply anxious, you might find yourself feeling anxious, even if you don't know why. Your body might subtly tense, your heart rate might quicken. This isn't sympathy. It's a direct, unconscious co-activation of neural and physiological states. Your nervous system is, in a sense, momentarily taking on the physiological signature of the other person's experience. It's a silent, embodied conversation happening beneath the level of conscious thoughts, making the other's emotional state partially your own. What does this mean for individuality? For the boundaries of personal suffering? For the burden of living in a world filled with both joy and immense pain? If empathy is an automatic, embodied resonance, can you truly shield yourself from the suffering of others? Does it imply that carrying the world's sorrows is not just a poetic metaphor, but a literal neurological burden, where you physically echo the distress you witness? The idea that your emotional state is inherently permeable, susceptible to the feelings of those around you through unconscious mirroring, can feel overwhelming. It challenges the notion of a purely internal emotional landscape. Yet, this isn't a curse, but a profound testament to our innate capacity for connection and compassion. This automatic mirroring is the biological foundation of social bonding, learning, and collective understanding. It's what allows us to truly connect, to anticipate needs, and to build complex, cooperative societies. Understanding the embodied nature of empathy provides a pathway to greater self-awareness and self-care. It encourages us to cultivate healthy boundaries, to practice mindful exposure to others' distress, and to develop strategies for regulating our own nervous systems. Not to shut off empathy, but to manage its intense, often unconscious, demands. It allows us to recognize that our capacity for deep connection comes with a profound, shared responsibility. So, the next time you feel a surge of emotion in response to another person's experience, be it joy or sorrow, pause. Consider that your brain and body are not just observing, but actively, physically echoing their internal world, blurring the line between your feelings and theirs. What deep sense of interconnectedness does this inspire, knowing that you are wired for a profound, shared human experience? And how might this radical insight into the embodied nature of empathy invite you to approach your connections with greater understanding, self-compassion, and a renewed appreciation for the powerful, often unseen, bonds that tie us all together? You've journeyed through the unsettling depths of scientific and philosophical concepts, from the illusion of a singular present to the emptiness of matter, the potential for retrocausality, the holographic nature of the cosmos, the illusion of free will, the brain's construction of sensory reality, the relational nature of self, the body's silent memories, the universe as a cosmic computation, and the profound, embodied nature of empathy. Each narrative peeled back a layer, challenging a deeply held assumption, forcing you to question the very fabric of what you consider real and true. We constantly seek definitive answers, a stable, objective truth to cling to, believing that reality is something out there to be discovered and definitively known. But what if, after stripping away all these layers, the ultimate, most unsettling, yet profoundly liberating truth is that reality itself is not a fixed, external entity, but a dynamic, ever-unfolding phenomenon profoundly shaped by your perception, your beliefs, and the stories you tell yourself and each other. What if, in the face of all these mind-bending uncertainties, the greatest power you possess is the capacity to choose what you believe about the nature of reality, and thereby, in a very real sense, participate in its creation? The unsettling truth is that at the frontier of physics, philosophy, and consciousness studies, the lines between observer and observed, belief and reality, are increasingly blurred, suggesting that your subjective interpretation holds profound active power. Imagine a vast, multifaceted gem. Each scientific or philosophical concept we've explored is one facet, revealing a sliver of truth, but no single facet captures the whole. The complete gem, the full picture of reality, is too complex, too paradoxical for any one lens. What remains, then, is the choice of how you interpret the whole. When quantum physics offers contradictory interpretations, wave or particle, collapsed or branching universes, the universe doesn't pick one for you. It's the framework you adopt, the questions you ask, the beliefs you hold, that determine which aspect of that multifaceted gem becomes your experienced reality. Your brain, as we've discussed, is a master of constructing reality. It doesn't just passively receive, it actively predicts and interprets based on its internal models and beliefs. Think about the placebo effect, a powerful testament to the mind's influence over the body. A sugar pill, believed to be medicine, can genuinely alleviate symptoms. This isn't just a psychological trick. The belief itself triggers physiological changes. Extend this concept. If your belief can alter your body's chemistry, what else can it influence? If your brain constructs your sensory reality, then the mental frameworks, the narratives, the deep-seated convictions you hold about the universe and your place in it become incredibly potent tools for shaping your personal experience of reality. Are you living in a hostile, indifferent universe, or a benevolent, interconnected one? The universe itself might offer evidence for both, and your belief often determines which evidence you prioritize and which reality you manifest. What does this mean for finding meaning, for navigating uncertainty, for the responsibility you bear in shaping your own experience? If reality is, in part, a construct of belief, does it mean there is no ultimate, objective truth? Does it empower you to create your own meaning, or does it plunge you into a solipsistic void? The idea that your beliefs aren't just passive opinions, but active ingredients in the recipe of your reality can feel overwhelming. It places a tremendous, yet exhilarating, burden of choice upon you. It challenges the passive consumption of truth and demands active participation. Yet, this isn't an abandonment of truth, but an elevation of consciousness. It's an invitation to discern, to choose your beliefs, not out of fear or dogma, but out of conscious alignment with the most empowering, most expansive narratives available. It recognizes that while there may be objective underlying physical laws, our experience of those laws, and the meaning we derive from them, is profoundly subjective and open to interpretation. This perspective offers immense freedom. You are not just a spectator. You are a co-creator, not of the fundamental laws, but of the experienced reality that unfolds through you. It suggests that profound wisdom lies not in finding the single correct truth, but in embracing the paradoxes and choosing the beliefs that foster growth, connection, and joy within the incredible mystery of existence. So, as you step forth from this journey through unsettling truths, pause. Consider that the greatest secret unveiled is not a single, fixed answer, but the profound active power of your own consciousness. What reality do you choose to believe into being? How will you wield the magnificent, unsettling power of your own perception and conviction? And knowing that your reality is, in a profound sense, what you choose to believe, how will you consciously sculpt a life filled with purpose, wonder, and meaning, here and now? In this unfolding, magnificent, and infinitely mysterious cosmos.